Stop thinking. Start doing. Thought is a double-edged blade, sharp enough to cut but dull enough to wound the wielder. Those who linger in their minds are trapped, spinning endless webs of indecision and fear. Thinking has its place, but it is not here, not now. The world doesn't wait for your mind to settle its arguments. It moves, relentless, unstoppable, crushing those too slow to act. Overthinking is a cage, and the key is action. The door is open, but the prisoners of thought sit still, paralyzed by their own uncertainty. The mind is a treacherous companion. It pretends to serve you, whispering caution, urging patience, but in truth it serves fear. Thoughts build walls where there are none, construct obstacles from shadows. Every second spent lost in thought is a second stolen from action. The strong know this. They silence the noise within, trading contemplation for movement. The weak drown in their own questions, while the bold create answers with every step they take. Thinking may guide, but it is doing that decides. Action is chaos, raw and unfiltered, but chaos is life. Thinking is stagnant, a stale pool that breeds nothing but doubt. To act is to embrace the unknown, to step into the fire without waiting to understand its heat. Those who wait for clarity are swallowed by the flames. The fire respects only movement, only those who dare to act without perfect knowledge. Perfection is the enemy of progress, and those who chase it will never begin. The fire rises and the thinkers burn. There is a kind of humor in the overthinker's plight. They believe they are preparing, strategizing, calculating every outcome. Yet while they calculate, the world changes the rules. Thought is too slow for life's pace, too weak for its trials. Action bends the rules, reshapes the game, rewrites the narrative. The thinker plans for a battle that has already passed, while the doer wins the war before the plan is even complete. Thought is always behind. Action is always ahead. The great are not thinkers. They are doers. They don't wait for the perfect moment because the perfect moment is a lie. They don't hesitate for better circumstances because circumstances are shaped by those who act. Overthinking is the enemy of greatness. It ties the hands, weakens the resolve, and drains the will. The strong know that hesitation is defeat disguised as wisdom. They act not because they are fearless, but because they refuse to let fear rule them. Fear belongs to the mind. Action breaks its hold. There is no safety in thought. Thinking doesn't protect. It paralyzes. Those who overthink believe they are avoiding danger, but in reality they are inviting it. Inaction breeds regret, the most poisonous of all outcomes. The bold understand that risk is not the enemy. Inaction is. To act is to live with uncertainty, but to think endlessly is to die with certainty. The mind fears what it cannot control, but the body knows better. Action silences fear, and silence is its greatest defeat. Action is freedom. Thought may bind, but doing breaks every chain. Overthinking is a prison of self-doubt, built brick by brick with every unanswered question. The strong do not wait for every question to be answered. They know that action creates its own answers. The weak sit in their cells, clutching their thoughts like keys that never fit the lock. The strong break the lock, shattering it with the force of their will. Thinking hesitates. Doing conquers. The shadows favor those who move. The idle thinker sits in the dark, paralyzed by what they cannot see. But the doer rises, shaping the shadows into tools, bending them to their will. Thinking waits for the light to come. Doing creates it. Those who think are blind in the dark, but those who act see clearly, guided not by their thoughts, but by their resolve. The shadows belong to those who claim them. not those who fear them. Greatness is not born in thought. It is forged in action. The greatest victories are not planned. They are seized. Those who think endlessly rob themselves of their chance to rise. Action does not guarantee success, but it guarantees the chance for it. Thinking guarantees nothing. The strong understand this. They know that failure in action is a lesson, but failure in thought is just a story untold. The thinker's failure is silent. The doer's failure is loud, and it demands respect. Action is the fire that burns away fear, the blade that cuts through hesitation. To act is to defy the noise within, to rise above the doubts that seek to drag you down. Thought whispers lies. Action screams defiance. Cut the noise. Defy the expectations. The world thrives on distractions, feeding chaos into your mind until it drowns out your own voice. Opinions, doubts, demands. They circle like vultures waiting for you to falter. Noise is the weapon of mediocrity, designed to keep you tethered, obedient, small. But silence is where power lives. In the absence of noise, there is clarity. Cut through the noise like a blade through shadow. The world doesn't need your compliance. It needs your defiance. Expectations are chains, forged by those too weak to rise themselves. They bind, they constrain, they dictate who you should be and how you should live. The strong do not bend to the weight of others' expectations. They break free, casting aside the roles forced upon them. Expectations are lies spoken in voices of authority, but they hold no real power. To defy expectations is to claim your autonomy. It is an act of rebellion against a system that seeks to control you. Noise feeds fear, and fear feeds control. Those who control the noise control the masses, but the ones who rise above it, who silence it, cannot be contained. To cut the noise is to reject the narratives crafted to limit you. It is to hear only your will, your ambition, your purpose. Expectations crumble under the weight of a will that does not bow. The strong do not ask what is expected. They ask what is necessary, and then they act. There is nothing louder than silence. The world screams to fill the void, terrified of what might emerge if you were left alone with your own thoughts. Expectations are shouted to keep you small, to drown out the quiet rebellion growing within you. But silence is power. It does not seek approval, it does not demand validation. Silence waits, and in that waiting, it grows. Defy the noise, and you will hear the silence calling you to act. Expectations are comfortable lies wrapped in pretty words. They tell you to stay safe, to follow the path, to avoid the unknown. But greatness lives in defiance. It is forged in the act of rejecting what is expected and creating something unexpected. Those who follow expectations fade into obscurity. Those who defy them become legends. The noise tells you to stay in line. The silence demands you step out of it. And the silence is always right. The world will hate your silence. It will try to pull you back into the noise, to force you to hear its doubts and criticisms. It will use expectations like weapons, attacking you with words like should and must. But the world hates what it cannot control, and silence cannot be controlled. To cut the noise is to declare war on the expectations of others. It is to say, I will not be what you need me to be. I will be what I am. Expectations are fragile. They shatter under the weight of action. The noise cannot withstand the force of movement. When you cut through it, when you rise above the expectations, you create something terrifying to those who cling to the rules. The world fears what it does not understand, And nothing is more incomprehensible than someone who refuses to be defined. Silence does not explain itself. It moves. It acts. It defies. To live by expectations is to live a borrowed life. The noise will try to convince you otherwise, to tell you that fulfillment lies in meeting the standards of others. But it is a lie. The strongest are those who listen only to their own will. They cut the noise, they defy the rules, and they shape the world to their liking. Expectations are nothing but illusions, and the strong do not live by illusions. They live by action. Cutting the noise is not easy. It requires rejecting what you've been taught, unlearning what the world has forced upon you. It is an act of violence against the chains that bind. But in that violence there is freedom. The noise will beg for your attention, but the silence will reward your defiance. It will give you clarity, power, and purpose. To silence the noise is to embrace the raw force of your own will.